What's up guys, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another review. In this one we're going to be looking at the XM1 gaming mouse from Endgame. And until a few weeks ago, until I was actually asked to review this mouse, a brand I haven't even heard of. Before we get into it, if you're watching this review close to when it was actually published, Overclockers UK are offering this mouse for just £35. However, if you're in the US, I'll also include an Amazon link in the video description if you want to get one for yourself. So unlike most gaming mice currently on the market that are all jammed with RGB, Endgame have gone for a much more simple, less is more approach, yet retaining all the important parts for maximum performance. It's also really light too at only 70 grams, and it's got that weight without having to look like it's just been visited by a bee. So spec wise, this is using a 3389 optical sensor that offers you a DPI from 50 to 16,000 in steps of 50. So I think that should cover most eventualities. Alongside that, the XM1 is using on-run switches that give you a lifespan of up to 50 million clicks, all fused with a polling rate of 1000 Hz. If you're wondering, this is actually listed as an ambidextrous mouse, but it only has buttons along the left-hand side, so if you are a lefty in need of additional buttons, you're going to be out of luck here, I'm afraid. Now, for anyone that wants specific dimensions, this is 121mm long by 58mm wide. It does flare slightly at the back up to 65mm, but for anyone that's been with me on the channel for a while, you know I've got a bigger hand, but I do find this one very comfortable no matter how I hold it, and I can use whatever kind of grip style I want to, which is really nice, especially for long extended use for work as well as gaming. Okay, so in the box you'll just find the mouse itself and then the little instructions on how to download the software. Very easy to do, and I'll show you how that works later on in the video. So the mouse is pretty simplistic in how it looks. As I did say, it does have some buttons you can map in the software. It is a very standard looking mouse, nothing really exceptional or stands out than what we generally see on the market. But as I did mention, the simple less is more approach definitely is in play here. I think it does look very nice, even though it is rather simple. So on the rear of the mouse, we've just got a simple Endgame logo in a nice silver, then a very matte black coating over the actual mouse itself. On the right hand side, you've just got a plain side. It is contoured as well, but it does give a very natural resting position for your fingers. On the left hand side, we do have the mappable buttons that I mentioned previously. They're in a very comfortable position, and I find whatever grip type I use, I can easily get to those without having to move my hand either, which is good. As I did mention, it is using on-run switches rated up to 50 million clicks. For those that are interested, here's a quick sample on how it sounds compared to the Rival 600 from SteelSeries. It is a little bit louder of a click than I'm used to, but that being said, you're generally going to use this on your own in your house, and you're not going to be using it in an office surrounded with people, so it's not really going to make too much difference. The scroll wheel is a little bit smaller than I am used to, but it is smooth to use and does have some bumps as you rotate it. And if you're wondering, you can do a middle click, but you can't do a left or right on there. I must say though, the mouse overall is built very well, and it does feel very solid in hand, and the price to quality ratio is very good on this, that's for sure. So as I did mention, I do have big hands, but I wanted to include this clip to actually show you those grip types in action. You do have a nice long cable on this. Unfortunately, it's not a braided one, it is a standard rubber cable, but again, it is a cheaper option, so maybe we'll see a braided version in the future. So some of you may have noticed that there isn't actually a Dpi switch on the top. Now the XM1's very different, as in they've gone for a button on the bottom of the mouse, so you're not going to accidentally click it during gameplay, but for some you may want that adjustment on the fly. Maybe if they're playing a gun game and they're using different classes, and they may want to change their DPI depending on what class they're using. So I can see this being a little bit of a hit or miss approach for different people. So this gives quick adjustment for the DPI, but if you actually press and hold it, it will give you adjustment for the polling rate. So you go from 250 Hz to 500, then to 1000. So I'm sure you'll agree it's a very different approach from what we generally see on the market, but I'm really interested in seeing what people think of this, so please leave a comment down below about your thoughts on it. So alongside that button and of course the sensor, we have got 4 pads. These are made from PTFE, so very smooth for whatever surface you use it on. Now one unfortunate downside I did find with this mouse is the coating. It does make it very perceptible to grease. As you can tell by a couple of these clips, it does pick it up very easily. I do have a light shining on it, but it's not as noticeable in person, but you can feel it after a while. It does build up quite easily. So unfortunately that is one downside. Okay, so this is the XM1 software where you can do all your adjustments. Now personally, I feel this needs to be developed quite a lot, because if, for example, if we go into the settings for the mapping, over here we've got the middle click option, and there's literally a disable or just for the middle click. That's all the options we have. I feel there could be a lot more done with this, and they could add lots of different options. For example, even setting up macros and things on here in the future. I will give them some credit, of course. This is a fairly new mouse and obviously software as well, so that will develop as it goes along. But I think this is definitely something they need to focus on to give us a bit more have flexibility and adjustment. So for example, buttons 4 and 5 can literally only be mapped to the IE forward or back. That needs work for sure. Going along the sensor, the adjustment is available in 50 increments. You can easily go between that and then set whatever profile to what color you would like. Again, obviously the button's underneath, so if you want to do it on the fly, you've got to be quite quick. You do have options for lift-off adjustment on there as well, if you want to change it to 3mm, depending on your own preference. Settings for ripple control on there as well. Going along, we've got the update. This is currently on version 1.62, and the software is on version 1.06. These are up to date as well as I've recorded this, so I haven't missed a firmware update or anything like that. That's literally all the options that are available in the software at the moment. And then at the end, we've got support. So as I said, I do think this needs some work, but I'm sure it will appear in the future. So in conclusion, the XM1 is a solid, no thrill, straight performer. Now it's currently around £40 in the UK, even when it's not on a Black Friday offer, and that makes it very, very appealing. Now, of course, for that price, RGB isn't present, but that will add additional weight anyway. Then they just have to get the drill out to keep it just as light. Lack of RGB is also a reason for some people to buy it in itself anyway. Being that this is their first gaming mouse, I'm sure RGB will appear at some point anyway. It's been very comfortable for me to use, even with giant hands, but I would like more customization options for button mapping though. But all in all, I really like this mouse. It's very easy to recommend, especially for £40. And being that it's from a company I haven't heard of just until a few weeks ago, I'm very pleasantly surprised. For the second iteration, I'd like to see a braided cable over rubber and a slightly different coating just to stop the grease build up, but otherwise this is an absolute banging mouse. So if you want to get an XM1 for yourself, I'll put the relevant links in the video description, as well as an option for the guys in the US. As always, if you've got any more questions, please leave them in the comments box below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video and ding the bell so you don't miss an upload. Thank you for watching, thank you to Endgame and Overclockers UK for sending this out for me to review, and I'll see you all in the next one.